Hallelujah.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Praise the living Jesus.
Hallelujah.
In the name of God, we want to welcome every one of us to the studio this morning in commemoration of the Father's Day coming up tomorrow. We pray that as we come together to discuss on the issues affecting our nation and the whole world at large, the Lord Himself will bless us in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Viewers at home, we welcome you in the name of God. And on behalf of our Father in God, the President and the Archbishop of the Province of Lagos, the Most Reverend Dr. Michael Olushina Fakwe, also we have in the studio with us this morning. We want to welcome all our fathers and mothers who are put together discussions this morning. We pray that the Lord Almighty will bless every one of us in Jesus' name.
Amen.
On that note, we want to welcome our Father, especially to the program this morning. Papa, the Most Reverend Dr. Michael Olushina Fakwe, our Lord Bishop, the Anglican Diocese, and the Archbishop of the Province of Lagos. Papa, you are welcome, sir.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir. Next to him is our Father in God, Venerable Aderemi Onojole, retired, a priest in the Diocese of Remo, and at one time permanent secretary of Ogun State. Daddy, you are welcome, sir.
God bless you.
Next to him is our mommy, Mrs. Olufola Werimo Shofadekon. She is the chief nursing officer at the Department of Ophthalmology at Olabisi Obanjo Teaching Hospital, Shagamu. Mommy, you are welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Next to her is our father, Professor Pio Olatoni, retired, a professor of medicine at Olabisi Obanjo Teaching Hospital, Shagamu. Daddy, we are happy to have you in the studio with us again, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And my own name is Kanosa Akinawon, and together with me to moderate the program in the studio this morning is my brother,
Reverend Hanson Igbashebu.
thank you, sir. He is a priest also in the Diocese of Remo in one of our churches. We pray again that as we move on in this program, the Lord will tabernacle with us in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Considering what is going on in our society today, we are talking about rape here and there, and we are talking about the lifestyle of our young ones in the society. That is why we deem it fit as we mark this year Father's Day throughout the world, and especially in our own diocese, Remo Anglican Diocese. We want to look at the topic, waywardness among the children in the 21st century, a manifestation of failed parenting. That is the topic I want to consider this morning, and that is why we have brought all our fathers and mothers into the studio to discuss this topic. But before we move ahead, we need to say a word of prayer, and we want to ask our Father, our own Bishop, our Papa, to please lead us in prayer.
Shall we pray? Our God and our Father, we thank you for the gift of life that has brought each and every one of us to this new day. Thank you. It is your breath in us that makes us what we are. Without your breath, we are mere dust. We take it not for granted. Thank you for the gift of fatherhood, even to mankind. You gave the gift of father to the home to be your ideal representative. Thank you for year 2020 as we look forward to celebrating this year's Father's Day. We ask God that as we meet at this pre-Father's Day, even retreat and discussion, let the Spirit of the living God guide our discussion, that all that we shall discuss today will redound to your glory and the blessing of our homes. This we pray through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen. Thank you, Daddy. Like I have said, that we are looking at the topic, waywardness among children in the 21st century, a manifestation of failed parenting. Considering what happened in 2 Samuel chapter 13, The first question that we want to put across to our discussion this morning is that what is your own opinion that characterizes the 21st century? What can you really say concerning this 21st century that we are talking about? Is it different from your own time when you are coming up, and with what is happening among our youth today, among our children? What in particular can you say about this 21st century? Maybe I will need to start from our father, Bishop sir, Bishop sir. Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, moderator. 21st century. If there is one thing that is unique about it, personally, as an individual, I want to say is an age of technology, fast one, and in which information flies like lightning. It's an age that has come to define the operations of whatever happens in the society by way of global village. You cannot say, oh, something is done in America, it cannot be seen or heard in Nigeria. No, it's an age of technology, and as a result of that, what happens in one part of the globe is easily transmitted to the other. And be that as it may, if something good or something bad happens in one part of the globe, within the next couple of minutes, through the social media, it is seen all over. And of course, when we are talking of postmodernism as well, it is the age that is very, very prevalent. And of course, I know as we move on in our discussion, you will know why it is a dangerous century as well. But for me personally, what sets it apart from every other century, to me personally, is the technological, let me say, orientation that is embedded in it.
Thank you. Yes, we are very grateful, sir. You mentioned the issue about postmodernism. Prof, can you help us to enlighten a little more on postmodernism as it affects our age?
Thank you very much. Let me just continue where our father stopped. And I'm just going to use my experience. I started the program last year talking with children. I found with wisdom dialogue, and I've been talking to very young people on a monthly basis until the pandemic started. And so I will just quickly put details to what our father said. It's an age where information and education, information and entertainment is outfasting, outrunning education. And normally there are three things: information, entertainment, and education. Information and entertainment appears to be more important in this age than education. It's the age of social media, as our father in the Lord has said. It's also an age of new endeavors. When we went to school in our time, everybody knew what we were going to do. Whether a lawyer, a doctor, but today, there are areas of endeavors that we never even thought about that is giving our young people money, even more money than our education can do for us. It's an age of speed. Very, very much impatience. They cannot wait for anything to happen. They just want it to happen now, now, now. It's an age of pursuit of money, actually beyond career. Also, it's an age of emigration. Emigration has always been there, but emigration has taken a new dimension. Let me say, before talking the last one, it's an age where the parents cannot catch up with their children. You know, it's an age where parents have become very naive and are incapable, really, unless they try very hard to catch up with the children. So the children are usually one step ahead of their parents. And any parent that does not work very hard will not be able to outpace them. I think I should stop there.
Well, thank you, sir. Let's say from our mommy, maybe you have one or two things to say to that one.
Thank you, sir. Well, the 21st century, to me, like our fathers have said, is an age that is highly developed and sensitive, especially in the lives of our youth. In that, if we are not careful, like Prof just said, we as parents will be left in the dark. This is the era in which we parents have to be sensitive to the happenings, even in the lives of our children, in which we need to move closer to them so that we can get facts from them. We need to be their friends so that they will not just put us aside. And they use, nowadays they even have a popular saying, they say old school. They see us in the older centuries as being old, that they are in the new school. So for us to also meet up with the standard, we need to work hard so that we can divulge into their secrecy and know more about them.
Thank you, Mommy. Before we ask our Daddy Venerable Nojole to say one or two things to that, we want to encourage our viewers at home that questions and comments are welcome on this program. You can send in your questions, you can send in your comments to this number 081 24 79 84 57. I will take it again. 081 24 79 84 57. And also 081 61 59 44 30. 081 61 59 44 30. Or you send in your comment and question to the Facebook account of the Diocese, Remo Diocese Anglican Communion. Thank you. That is available. What can you say, sir, to the issue of this 24th century, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. 21st century is 100 years of new happenings. And in fact, is beyond the things that people have thought about before. And this century, which we call 21st century, is also a century where science has taken the forefront, and especially through electronic media. And because our youth are quite vibrant, because they get educated very early in age, they seem to catch up with all these things that we are talking about. And they make use of it to their advantage. In those days, we will talk about character, we will talk about home discipline, we will talk about children learning from their parents. But in these days, the children are moving so fast that we have to keep the pace. We have to learn from them, especially when we talk of technology and the issue of social media. From experience, we would say children should not be allowed to use some of these gadgets. Teachers, principals advise parents that should not give your children phone to school so as to avoid distraction. But with what we are experiencing with COVID-19, I think those rules will change, because right now the children are learning through internet. They are involved in Zoom, and they take lectures from the internet. And before you know it, maybe by the time they'll be resuming, I think the school will have to may make it compulsory for them to bring their phone to school, as against what they used to do before. So it is an advantage, and the situation in which we find ourselves now is making this new technology to be relevant. You can imagine if there are no phones, no smartphones, it means that all those students would not have any access to education during this period. But I want to tell you, with some schools, they are even learning more now that they are at home. So it's an advantage.
Okay.
But we need to be cautious with it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Well, with all that have been said about this 21st century, that this is an age of technology, it's a dangerous century, age of pursuit of money, age where parents cannot even catch up with their children. With all this that have been said, that will take us to the next question that we have here, sir.
Yes, sir. As I said, it, all this have been said. What then could we play, particularly for the level of waywardness and moral decadence in the society today? Could we play? Who, Professor, please, can you help us?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. A very difficult question, but in answering that question, let me quickly define what waywardness is. When I define it, it will be easier. It says inability to control, difficult to control. So it's describing our children as difficult to control. Now, that definition puts us into trouble because it assumes resistance. It assumes refusal. Now, but you must get to some level, some age, before you can refuse control. The issue there is in defining who is to blame is what happens before they get to that stage that they can refuse control. What have we done? We have said all this, age of that. That's when they become teenagers and all the rest. What did we do when they were 1.5 years, 2, 3? They were not out of control. They are not in 21st century. So this is where everybody has his own bit in the matter. But parents, and when I talk to parents, I said that some of us have already lost it. We should just pray. Our children are beyond that stage. The critical thing is that what are we doing before the children got to a stage, before anybody in fact gets to a stage that is difficult to control, refuses to be controlled. So that's why in deciding who do we blame, there's no way that, and it's a rhetorical question, there's no way that parents can. And some of the products that we are seeing, they are not products of 21st century, I'm afraid. They're not about 21st century. They are about the failures, our failure, when the children were not even in a position to refuse, when they were not in a position to be difficult to control, when they were not in a position to resist us. The result that we are getting is a result of what we did not do. Some of the things that we are saying here, there are still children who will not do them, who will not go beyond certain steps. So in talking about waywardness and somebody being difficult to control, we must ask ourselves, what did we do before they got to the stage when they have all the wherewithal, the information, the energy, the power to now begin to resist us? And that's where, first of all, we must go back to parents. I'm sure this discussion will expand beyond this, but we must go back to what we did or did not do at the time when the children did not have all the wherewithal to refuse, to be difficult and to just reject control.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. But if I'm able to get you right, sir, you are trying to tell us that we need to visit the foundation of our children. We need to go back and see what really happened when they are coming up. Well, I don't know, mommy, maybe that's your own view about the question too, ma'am. Just in 2 minutes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, sir. Well, I'll say the parents are to be blamed. And the parents means the father and the mother. But mostly the mother. Because as a woman, you are the one that carries the pregnancy. When you are pregnant, what are those things that you engage in? As an expectant mother, when you wake up in the morning, decree unto the unborn baby, lay your hand upon the baby, decree, say positive things into their future. Tell the child you will be for signs and wonders. You will grow up to love God more than anything in the world. And by the grace of God, by the time the child is being born, and coupled with the family orientation and the training the child is receiving, such a child will grow up into that decree and the prophecy. Like God was very confident about Abraham. In Genesis 18 verse 19, God said, I'm very sure about Abraham because he's going to lead his family in my own way. That is where the father too comes into play. So as parents, we are to be blamed for the shortcomings in the lives of our children. But if we give them a solid foundation, the child that has been born, and like when I grew up, at least to the age of 2, 3, I grew to know my father praying in the midnight. When I wake up at night, I will see my father kneeling down praying, telling God, these children, this must be their future, this is how he wants our future to be, and to the glory of God. Those prayers came to manifestation in our lives. So the parents are to be blamed for all those shortcomings in the life of the children.
Thank you, ma'am. Like His Grace said earlier on, that the 21st century is characterized by the explosion of technology. And we discovered that it's not only, learning does not only take place within the four walls of the house. Technology also has a lot of things a lot of input in this issue. Daddy, I don't know what you have to say about that.
Yes, technology should be an advantage per se. But what makes it, the problem we have is that what do you adapt, what do you use with the technology? Talk of phone or talk of any technology or information. Without technology, the rate of assimilation and education to people will reduce, because these days you don't use chalk much in the church, in the school. You use graphics, you use all sorts of things, and it helps assimilation. Also, when you look at technology in the real sense, it enhances education, and it makes education easy and makes relationship between teachers and students to be easier, and they can propagate education better than without advanced technology. So technology should not be a disadvantage, it should be an advantage.
Thank you, sir. To Papa, our Bishop, sir. Well, we have talked about parents, we have talked about technology. Can we limit it to that side? What about the entertainment industry or the institutions, even the church? Can we say something like that has contributed to the waywardness of the children in this century, sir?
Well, of course, I share the sentiments of those who spoke before me. And we are talking about the lifestyle of our children today. There is no way we can talk about the lifestyle of a child without attaching it to that of the parents. Of course, Proverbs 22:6 says, train a child in the way that he should go. And when he's grown up, he will not depart from it. And I'm glad when Prof talked earlier on. Today, the three catchy words are education, entertainment, and possibly information. And the Bible is good in any of these. When we are talking of entertainment is not only about magic, African magic. Entertainment is not talking only about probably Pasuma or probably Davido. Entertainment also may have to do with what an individual checks in by way of refreshing or updating his knowledge in a particular area of life. And so, even in the entertainment is educative. And for me, I still very much believe the roles of the parents are very germane when it comes to bringing up adults, probably in the near future, in this particular century. The parents have responsibility as educating the children. Just like Professor Latuji said earlier on, even those children that we are talking about now, they are not the ones that were born in the last 10 years. No. 21st century, we can only say just started a few years back, beginning with 2000, as it were. But then, some of the problems that we are grappling with, we are battling with in the present time, they are from those who were born before them, and from those who came from possibly homes that have no sufficient time, even to devote to the children that have become, let me say, an albatross in the society today. I want to believe, personally, as an individual, that the church also has a role to play in this dimension. Because when we are talking about the church is meant to reorientate an individual, taking him back to God. But then, when you look at those who claim to be Christians today, these are people who have little or no time for the world. And the scripture says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So, even the knowledge we are talking about, we are not talking about knowledge of philosophy. Philosophy is good, but when the Christian handles philosophy, he handles it in a way that rather than taking people away from God, he leads people to God. Now, there are those in the church today, probably I may be pointing at us now, those of us who are ministers. Even those of us who are ministers, I'm not only talking about the Anglican Church, I talk about all denominations. There are so many whose knowledge of the scripture is shallow. And that is why people are blaming some of the denominations today that it is only prosperity gospel. The gospel that doesn't tell you that there is hell, that there is heaven, that there is God who rewards, and then there is God also who punishes. And so that is where people are getting it wrong. I believe the church in a way might have mixed it somehow. In other words, not much education was devoted to letting people know that God is not only just God of love, God of love, God of love. God is also God of justice. And so when we balance this together, of course, I want to thank God, like Venerable not only said earlier on, age of technology, but technology has aided the church in such a way that we can equally use it to proclaim the message of the gospel in a way that it will affect people positively. Part of it is what we are doing right now. Locked down as it were, ordinarily, what we are doing now, it should be through gathering together physically, inviting our fathers. But even the audience we are having now will outnumber ordinarily those who will have come to that particular hall. So when those who are in the church, when they handle the word of God as it should be, I want to assure you that this issue of waywardness of children would have been tackled in a reasonable way, that probably the situation would have been different. Or if we know where we are now and we choose to tackle it, the situation may be different in the days or years ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. With all that we said, sir, about the waywardness, the level of waywardness among children in today's society, sir, I will start from you again, sir. That how sensitive can a parent be in ensuring a safe relationship among siblings in the family relation, going by what's happened between Amnon and Tamar, as we have it in 2 Samuel 13, and the involvement of their father, David, sir.
Thank you. Well, one thing that is basic, it doesn't matter where the home situates, whether Africa, Europe, America, South America, anywhere. One thing that is basic is that the home is dealing with human beings. Whether your color is yellow, is red, is purple, the same blood. I'm glad that we have two medical personnel here in our midst. Blood is the same thing. It is only the skin that differentiates. Now, when we are talking about children, it all depends on the understanding of the parents, that is the mother and the father, about what makes up the lifestyle of those children. That was what was missing in the house of David, to me personally. Yeah, Amnon and Tamar, the same parents, the same father. But then the point we are talking about here is, what kind of orientation did they receive? How much of time did David devote to the family altar, family education? Now, in a way that through the peer influence, you will remember that before that, I call it incest because it's still between blood-related brothers and sisters. If they knew what it means not to be engaged in such an unholy relationship, the peer influence, when friend will be suggesting to the brother, go and do this, he wouldn't. That is number one. Number two, in a way, parents at times, they think children, they are too young. You don't need to tell them the truth, or probably they are I don't know whether to put it here as sex education. That boy is quite different from girl is quite different from boy. Now, there is nothing too, let me say, it's not a shameful thing to discuss about the makeup of the children, that this is what God has made you to be, this is what God has made you to be. If something is going beyond this particular level, something seriously is happening. Now, for me, I believe David had a responsibility here which he did not carry out. In a way, he did not give the basic home education to the children, and that resulted in that terrible thing. And of course, you know, he did not end up with Tamar and Amnon. It did not end up with them. It went beyond that revenge was also taken in future. So it went ahead. So there was a family crisis. And one thing I want to say here also is that probably as parents, we should also guide our children and make sure that they have no place for any secret. What do I mean here? We should read into their minds so well that when they are pretending, we should know. Because Amnon, as it were, he was not sick. if he was pretending, I'm a father by the grace of God, and I know some of our children at times, when they want to pretend, we know, and by the time I have thrown one or two questions to them, I will have unraveled what they think they want to get away from me.
Okay, I think it also shows the fact that there's the fact that David is not so close to Ammon. That
is what I'm saying. There's a kind of I don't want to say social distancing now because there is a gap. He didn't have much time to know his children. That is personally that is part of my assessment of the situation between Ammon and Tamar.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, I want to put it to Professor, sir. With what that you have said, sir, considering the level of rape we have in the society now, we've been recording fathers even raping their daughters, uncle here and there. In relation to what that you have said, what can you say to that, sir?
Thank you very much. I believe that the issue of rape is a very major matter that goes into the direction, particularly for me, of self-control, which unfortunately I don't think the church is teaching sufficiently about. One of the major gifts of the Holy Spirit is our ability to self-control and to be moderate in what we are doing. Particularly because even in responding to our urge, our psychological urge, our sexual urge, our financial, we are just talking about sex. It's the same thing with money and power in this country. Many of us believe that there's no limit to what we can have. There's no limit to the amount of money, and we are telling people not even to have limits because we don't want to have limits. The teaching that people must be self-controlled in their body, outside their body, is a major teaching of the church. So that you are not directed by your eros. Rape comes because one of the perverse nature of society itself. When the society becomes so perverse, everything comes out of it. And part of it is our ability to be unbridled. Let me say something in 1 Samuel chapter 13 that bothers me a lot about David talking about this. In verse 13, that girl Tamar even said that if they ask their father, he will not withhold her from him. That for me was said a lot about David, about permissiveness. You know, I happen to have the privilege of having many people live in my house in Ibadan. My children know so many cousins and uncles, and I could just not helping them. They came from all over the place to live in our house, men, women, and we had a responsibility to make sure that all of them achieve their aim without destroying one another. And by the grace of God, we did. His grace said something about quiet time. We didn't do quiet time in our house in secret. They knew that we prayed. They knew that we read the Bible. They had to read it with us. They had to hear it with us. I'm not saying that necessarily changes somebody, but do your own bit. You know, I'm not a regular father. In those days, I refused to get a decoder. I refused. I couldn't watch those things myself because I didn't want my children to watch them. I want them outside me. They got to a certain age before I agreed to buy DSTV or whatever these decoders which people use. Because you are not at home. These children for hours are in front of these things, looking at the one that is good, the one that is bad. And as Bishop said, this thing is open. You know, I even think that this technology is like the cutlass. When we were growing, the cutlass was only taken to the farm. But what does the cutlass get to do now is in the hand of old boys. They use it to kill. So there is nothing that is seriously new. I don't want to say there is nothing that is new in the days, those days there was their own technology.
Yeah.
And you could develop technology the way you like. It is parents that have a responsibility to help them to develop them. And I want to end by saying the church has a role. It's true that we are talking about parents. In Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 6, the first thing that the parent does is to get the word inside himself. And then the Bible gives an instruction to teach it. Parents ought to be taught in church to know what to teach their children. It's also part of the responsibility of the church to take parents whose children are growing. Because the Bible says that this commandment, I will teach you this commandment. And when I have taught you the commandment, you will then go and teach it to your children. The church may not just necessarily remain at Sunday school level. The church has a responsibility to teach parents who are able to look after their children. I'm praying that the Lord will get us to understand the dimension of the responsibilities that God has given to us as parents. It's a privilege to be parents, but it's also a great responsibility to be one, and so with the church.
Thank you so much, Prof. We wish that more emphasis be paid, particularly on this issue of sexual violence, which is prevalent in our community. Mrs. Sobadeko, please help us with this matter. What has been, as a medical practitioner, what has been your experience with patients who have come in contact with this issue of sexual violence, and what has been the effect on their relationship, further?
Thank you, sir. Well, first of all, the effects of sexual violence on an individual goes a long way. One, social effect, it dampens the morale of such an individual. Let's say, for example, a child that was sexually assaulted at age 6. That memory will linger on, and it can even affect the child's education. The child will not concentrate in the study anymore. He or she will lack concentration. Mostly, it's even the girls that are at risk of this. Such a child has been sexually abused at a tender age will be withdrawn. We see everybody as a threat, especially opposite sex. We see such an opposite as a threat, and it will affect the emotion of such a child. It will affect the educational status of the child, and even health-wise, it can even endanger such clients or persons to sexually sexually transmitted diseases. So, in such a way, it goes along even to the future of such an individual. Let's say, for example, a child has been assaulted from a tender age, by the time the child even grows up into youthful or adulthood, such a person will even find it difficult to even relate well with the husband when such a child is married, because the effect will linger on. You will see the husband as you will remember whenever the girl remembers such an act that he has suffered for in the past, it will affect the present state of that lady, even in their marriage.
I want to ask you, is there only females that experience sexual violence?
Well, both sexes, but it's common with females.
Okay, thank you, Ma. Well, because of our time, I know that we have lots to say on this matter. That we have been discussing the waywardness among the children and even the issue of rape going on in the society now. Let me start from that is available on Jolly. We believe that this thing cannot just continue like that. At least there must be something we can do to safeguard the whole thing. And that's the question I want to put across to you, so that what are the strategies that you think that the church, the family, or society can put in place to curb all these menaces, the issue of rape, and the waywardness among the children, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Bible says in Proverbs 23, verse 24, that the father of a righteous child will rejoice. So, rejoicing is the benefit that a father gets when you train a child. And they say charity begins at home. So, everything starts from home. But then we have other areas that are important. The church, for example, is very important, because, like our Lord Bishop has said, that is the healing ground for people who are sick in one way or the other. So what can the church do? The church is a house of prayer, and prayer is very, very key to this issue, is a solution to this problem. And it's not a kind of silent prayer. It should be a loud prayer. And even in our prayers in the church, we should expose what is happening in the society. The issue of rape. Recently, an incident happened in a church. I mean, that is sacrilege, for that kind of thing to happen in a church. But then, now I think the church must rise up and then start to pray, rebuking all this kind of rubbish, so that the church will be cleansed. Then another thing is that even in our sermon, we should devote some topics to curbing sexual violence, and letting people know that when it happens, hell is awaiting such a person. And then that caution will start from church. Then thirdly, we need to lecture people. There must be symposium, there must be a way of educating people, gathering people together, gathering the youth together, and making all this to be part of the training that they will give them in the church and at home. And by the time we do all this and do more, the issue will be ringing in the hearts of people that this thing is not good, and there's no hiding place for anybody that does it. So I believe the church has a lot of roles to play.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mommy, I want to put it to you. With what that you have said, what can you say? Again, do you have any contribution to that? He has talked about the church, and he talked about the home also. Is there another thing that we can do as a strategy that we can put in place to curb all this?
Thank you, sir. Well, as a mother, I would put it that we should see all the children around us as being our own children. Don't say this child, because I'm not the one that gave birth to this child, I cannot correct this child. If you see every child around you as your own child or your children, you should be able to impart knowledge and correct them. There was a time as a children teacher in my class, I got to the church, I saw a child with nail paint on the legs and hands. And I put it to her, what is this? She said, I've passed out. I said, passed out of where? This is a child that just finished the secondary school. She's still awaiting the results. And I told her, so because you have just finished your secondary education, do you think this is the right thing for you to do? And I told her, you can see we, your teachers, you are not in such an apparel, so don't ever come to this gathering like this. The other children in the church, they are looking onto you, even your younger ones. So we as mothers, we should be able to correct anything that is wrong in the children around us. And even nowadays, we mothers, we should watch whatever we buy for our children, the kind of clothes we buy for them. You see some children putting on spaghetti bikini. There was something that is going around on the media some weeks ago, in which a mother took a 5-year-old girl, fixed eyelashes, dressed the girl in a bikini, and the posing, because the girl was about to celebrate her 50th birthday. When I saw this, I was disgusted. What sort of training is the mother giving to this type of a girl from the tender age? So we should rebuke such a thing. We should give our children education, and not even our biological children alone. Every child that we come in contact with, we should give them the right education. If they dress in an awkward way, we should correct them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Professor, because of our time, sir, we have, Mommy have mentioned to us, parents contributing to the waywardness of their children. And I want to put it to you, sir. In a situation whereby parents have done their own parts in the life of the children also, and the children themselves, they feel that, yes, like Mommy mentioned the other time about the lady passed out of secondary school, so I'm on my own, I feel I can do whatever I like. What do you think about that, sir? That's number one, sir. And number two, sir, is that considering the level of rape now, because one of the excuses that people are saying is that even the ladies themselves, they dress in awkward, and with what the government is trying to do, what can you say in line with that, sir? Is it the children themselves that one can really say they are at fault, and the government, what they are planning to do, are they right, or what can you say, sir?
Thank you very much. Rape should be condemned unqualifiedly. Absolutely. Nobody has any reason not to condemn rape in the extreme. You know, I was thinking like you are thinking, and then I remembered, regardless of how somebody, okay, so when they rape a 3-year-old, is it because of being 2-year-old? You know the reason why. Yeah, and I agree with my sister, because it is true that we must, that's why I said we must teach moderation. The church must have a standard, not necessarily about how long your dress will be, but the church must have basic standard. But let me tell you, rape must be condemned, because they are raping 2-year-old, 3-year-old. Do they have music? No, they don't. That's why I started by saying that this matter is a matter of self-control. What we must teach people to learn to control themselves. And it is also a result of conversion. People are not converted. When people are converted, the gift of self-control comes from the Holy Spirit. When the Holy Spirit is there and you are listening to Him, He's capable of saying, look, that's what you want to do. Please don't do it. If you do it, God will be unhappy. If God is unhappy, He will punish you. As His grace has said, there are churches who don't want to tell people that God can punish them. You know, I told somebody recently, there's no time Israel suffered and it was from strangers. It's true. Every time Israel suffered, every time they were defeated, every time they had pestilence, it was not because from their enemies. It was from their God, the God that created them, that separated them. We do not understand what it means for God to be angry. Whether you are His child or not. Read the whole of Scriptures. No enemy was able to touch the children of Israel until when God Himself is annoyed against them and sends things against them. We need to be very careful. It needs to be condemned. But we must also ask women to report early. You know, many of these women, they wait until the man is a big man And I don't like that at all. They wait until because he becomes a governor, he becomes a pastor, he becomes a president. I think that is ridiculous. To wait because you now have an opportunity to bring a man down itself has something to do. What were you looking at over these years until the man became president, himself, and then you come out and say until the man has a name? Why must you wait until that time? So if you are a victim, report early. Even if the person is a houseboy, let us know, because it's even easier to deal with the matter at that point. Then absentee parents. How many of us really are around to see what our children are doing? 8 hours, 9 hours of the day. Are we really around? Do we know their tendencies? We don't. Because we are just absent. Some of us are absent going far away from home. Some of us are absent just running around town and coming in the night. How do you know what has happened in your absence? So it's very important that we look at this matter, and government must reward rape. Let me not use the word. Punishment is also reward. Because when the Bible talks about reward, it's on both sides. The law must punish rape extremely. It's not this corrective thing. It's not. We must send a signal that this is an absolutely bad offense, so that those who want to commit it will think twice, knowing fully well what has happened to those who. So society itself must condemn, and of course, the church has no alternative, because actually the church has more responsibility, even than the policemen, because we will give accounts, particularly those of us that are leaders. We will account not just for ourselves, but those whom God has put under us. So the church has very, very severe responsibility in this matter, to make sure that where it is, and in fact, any sexual tendency known within the church, because a lot of them are in church, they do it and we say, let's not, that is, but lastly, there's something I told myself. I said, when my children have left the university, for the university, I ought to have done my bit before they leave for the university, because nothing that to teach them is going to be lost. They say, oh my God, it's on you. Now, those things are going to be reverberating, even if they have an environment, because your question alludes to the environment. But if you are what you have taught at home, will also help your children to be moderate, to be measured, and also to be able to self-control. So it's very important too that the church and the home pay attention to our children, so that there is something to follow when they are now exposed. Is what is calling is what you have inside of you that you will use in the days of temptation.
Thank you, Prof. The rest we will please be able to run off this this session. But before that, I just want to speak on this particular issue. Prof raised the issue of if you are a victim, raise the alarm early. What about the mental states or the fear of being stigmatized?
Thank you. Yeah, of course, I'm glad that Professor Latunji has really touched on the issue. I'm glad, because I was expecting such a question from you before. You know, part of what we should see as the benefits of the 21st century is the fact also that there is nothing new under the sun. Gone should be those days when one was raped, and for fear of stigmatization, you should keep quiet. No, let it be blown on the top of the roof. Let people know. And the earlier that is done, the better. Of course, I probably I shouldn't go into that area, but then I should. Now, if you look at a particular denomination, revelations are coming out now, and so many people that have been assaulted, so many people that have been, let me say, cohabited with, Ordinarily, they shouldn't. But they're now coming up. And as a result of that, so many priests are being derobed and sent away. I want to believe now is the time. If that is done, let it be known so that the offender can be brought to book. And of course, that is why I 100% support Professor Latunji. And this is where I want to be angry with those who are in the National Assembly. When they are discussing this issue, they say, no, this punishment is too stiff. No. In fact, that castration should be, is the best. It is the best. Castration is the best. And I'm glad at what Governor El Rufai of Kaduna State has decided to do. It is hanging. Hang them. In fact, 1, 2, 3 countries have been given the example of what they did to rapists. And as a result of that, rape is almost zero in those countries. And I think we shouldn't be afraid of that in Nigeria. Yes, at times we say, oh, probably there was a ritual aspect to it. But then, what kind of ritual do you want to do to an 80-year-old woman? What kind of ritual? Or, let me say, 7-month-old child. So, personally, they should voice out. And the National Assembly, they should also see it as part of the responsibility, the good duty they want to do our generation, pass a legislation that will make a rapist to be castrated or even executed. It's a serious something because you have already messed up the life of an individual. It's not even only, thank God that Mrs. Shufadekon mentioned it earlier on, it's not only even women, but women almost 99.9. Men are also raped. We heard about that. So, either man or woman, either male or female, rape offenders should be thoroughly dealt with. It's a matter of life and death. Somebody who went and raped somebody against his wish, if, of course, I shouldn't even say this, so many of them had been killed. So if you have the opportunity, you will have killed the person. In which cases, we have had rape victims be killed.
Thank you, sir. On that note, we want to call it a day. We want to appreciate all our fathers again and our mommy. Starting from our father in God, the Most Reverend Dr. Michael Olusegun Fape, the Lord Bishop of Anglican Diocese, and the Archbishop of Province of Lagos, and to our father, Belengo A. Onojole, our mommy, Mrs. Olufola Wonimo Shufadekon, and our daddy, Professor Pio Olatunji. We want to really appreciate you for coming on this program, for the words of encouragement that we have given to our own generation and to the world at large. It is our prayer that the Lord Himself will continue to strengthen you the more in Jesus' name. We equally want to thank our Mama Diocese, Mrs. Toyin Fape, and Mama Province for all she has put into this program, for the program to come up today. We pray for her that the Lord will continue to bless her in Jesus' name. Amen. All our men behind the screen, we say thank you to you all. The Lord will reward your labor of love in Jesus' name. We started on the note of prayer. We need to end it also on the note of prayer. And before we do that, I want to thank my brother here, Reverend Anson, for also joining us in the program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, probably, I know we are almost, our time is up. But then, one thing I really want to touch before we pray.
Yes, sir.
I know Remo Anglican Diocese has started doing that. Now, it's not only training our girls that matters. We should equally train the boys. Because if you train the girls, and then you don't train the boys, untrained boys will violate the training that we have given to those trained girls. And so I want to plead with parents that don't only concentrate attention, oh, it's a boy. No, because if you have taught, you have monitored, you have groomed a girl. Now, we should also monitor and groom a boy to at least compensate or to make it also something that is acceptable, so that not only the women at the end of the day will be receiving the brunt, but then the men also should be taught in the right way, so that there will be a balance of equation in this matter, as it were. Training of boys, training of girls. And it is when we do that we are developing in an ideal way.
Thank you, please. We hope that you have another forum for this kind of discussion to deep into this. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Tomorrow is the celebration of Father's Day. Though we may not be able to gather together in the church, but we still encourage that we celebrate all our fathers tomorrow. And as we end the program, we will ask our Father in God again to help us pray for all our fathers, pray for the world at large, and even our children together.
I think Professor Latuji, you can pray for us. Yes, sir.
Our Lord and our God, we thank you for every privilege to share your word with ourselves first and with our fellow men and women. We thank you for what has been done this afternoon. Our prayer this afternoon is that you will use this hour beyond what we can contemplate in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
These words have been sent to men and women and to homes. Let these words do what you want it to do in those homes in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
Let it affect our society for good in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
And for our fathers, we ask, O God, that the ability, the grace to be men indeed, you will grant unto us in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
What we will do, that we will not stand condemned before you, help us to do it in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
Thank you, gracious and loving Father.
Thank you, Lord.
In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Until we meet again next year for such a program like this, viewers at home, we thank you and we pray the Lord will bless us in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Thank you and remain blessed.
God bless you.